Well, hello class, and welcome to a tutorial on research using the University of the Cumberland's online library resources. My name is Dr. Jake Brock. I'm an assistant professor of accounting in the Edward L. Hutton School of Business and the Robert W. Plaster Graduate School of Business, and I want to take a few moments to go through the basics of doing graduate level and undergraduate level research using the university's library resources page, finding peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles and other professional and scholarly resources to be able to use for research assignments and projects. In the opening of this video, I do want to tell you that I'm recording this currently on my porch outside, and here in southeastern Kentucky it's thunderstorming a little bit, and so if you hear some thunder or some rain or something in the background, don't be alarmed. That's just the weather where I'm at the time I'm recording this video. So again, welcome to this tutorial, and let's journey through the balance of our study of how to conduct research using library resources together. So in terms of finding peer-reviewed journal articles, to access relevant professional and peer-reviewed literature for research assignments, you will need to access the University of the Cumberland's library's online resources. You can access that by clicking the link at the bottom of the screen, www.ucumberlands.edu/library, and you can either key that link in directly to your web browser, or if you go to the University of the Cumberland's webpage, if you click under Academics, you will see on both the undergraduate and the graduate side of the current university's website layout under the Academics tab, a link to the library resources page. So again, you can key that in manually, or you can go directly to the home page and navigate from there, but you will want to find the link to the library and the library's online resources. When you come to the library home page, here is what you will see. You'll notice in the top of my browser, I'm using Google Chrome, and you will see the hyperlink to the library page highlighted. Notice that that corresponds with the link I gave you on the prior slide. And this will take you to the home page for the Hagan Memorial Library at the University of the Cumberlands. Down towards the bottom, you will see a link to the UC Mega Search, which is sort of a one-stop shop search link. I'm not going to recommend that you use that, and I'll talk about why here in just a few moments. But there is a link provided for you there, as well as a tab at the bottom for research guides, a listing of databases in A to Z listing, and then the UC catalog as well. You'll notice on the left-hand side of the page, you will see links to the library hours listing, Ask a Librarian if you have questions, and this is particularly helpful if you're having a research issue or trouble accessing a particular article that you need. That's a handy link. Interlibrary Loan, which is a wonderful resource. Not only as a student at the University of the Cumberlands do you have access to our library resources, but through the Interlibrary Loan Program, you have access to resources of various and sundry libraries all throughout the country. And so it's virtually limitless in terms of your access as a university student to all that the library system has to offer. You can also do a journal title search, get help with citations, as there are citation resources on the library homepage as well. Library orientation sessions, where you can review and schedule an orientation and sort of a help session to figure out a lot of what I'm showing you here on how to use library resources, and then again about the library, just to find general information about the university's library, its history, and the resources provided through the University of the Cumberland's Hagan Memorial Library. So let's go ahead and jump in by finding the business research guide. If you look at towards the bottom, when you pull up the Hagan Memorial Library homepage, you will see again the tabs at the bottom, and the second of those tabs is labeled Research Guides. That is the tab that we want to click, and you'll notice throughout the video I've provided some signage with my red click here arrow, and then some rather messy circling of the Research Guides tab, but hopefully that calls your attention to the appropriate place. So you will want to click the Research Guides link. And when you do that, you're going to see a link to the different disciplines. What the Research Guides menu provides is essentially a collection of various databases grouped according to the given discipline that you're researching. So for example, if we scroll down that list and find business, which is the fourth discipline listed, what that's going to bring up when we click that is a listing of all of the scholarly and professional literature resources in the university's library system and library resources that relate to the business disciplines. That is accounting, finance, management, marketing, and economics. You will find references in the scholarly and professional literature available to help you with research across each of those disciplines. If for some reason you're doing research for another discipline, this is particularly relevant if you're an undergraduate student taking classes across a variety of disciplines for your general education requirements, or for another major or minor that's requiring you to do some research, you can find the resources for those disciplines, again, by scrolling down to the appropriate department. Since the primary purpose of my research guide here is to show you how to do business research, what you're going to do is you'll see labeled, click here number 1 at the bottom, select the guide, and then when the listing comes up, click here number 2 points to the business listing. You want to select the business listing and then click the go button over to the right next to the then click here number 3 arrow. Once you follow that process, you will then come to the listing of the top resources for the business disciplines. On the home page for these top resources, you're going to see a listing of several very good scholarly resources at the center of the page. First of those is ABI Inform Global, which you'll notice I have an arrow pointing to that says articles. This is an excellent database to find scholarly and peer-reviewed articles relating to the business disciplines. We'll go through an example of how to find an article from ABI Inform Global here in just a moment, but I want you to see that right up front. Then you will see the second listing, which is Business Plans Handbook. This is a great resource for data and information concerning both the designing and example business plans. So if you have a course that requests or requires you to design a business plan, that's an absolutely wonderful resource to utilize in that process. The third listing is Business Source Premier, which is the second major scholarly research journal article database you'll see listed. Notice I have an arrow next to it labeled articles. And then below that you have Business Source Premier Enhanced, which is a great source for useful data, raw data, and in some cases processed data to be able to use for business research as well. Then down at the bottom, your third resource to find peer-reviewed journal articles will be the Sage Premier database, which I have, again, a third article labeled, or a third arrow, labeled articles pointing to. Those 3 databases are going to be your most helpful database resources to find scholarly and peer-reviewed journal articles to utilize for research purposes. So we're going to begin by looking at an example of the ABI Inform Global database. Notice that to find this, you would, of course, going back to the prior slide, you'll click that very first database link to the ABI Inform Global. Once you select that link, then you will come to this page. ABI Inform Global is a database provided by ProQuest. So you naturally come to the ProQuest homepage upon clicking that link, and then you will have a general search bar that pops up under the Basic Search tab. What we're going to do to utilize this in the most easy format possible is before we search anything, or enter our search terms or our search keywords, what we're going to do is to check the 2 boxes that you see articles pointing to. That is the full text box and the peer-reviewed box. The reason that we want to select and put a check mark by each of these boxes is because, first of all, we want the full text of the articles we're going to utilize. If you do not select the full text option, then you will have abstracts and references to articles that are included in this database, but you may not have access to it given the university's subscription. The second box, which is the peer-reviewed box, you want to select because this box, or checking this box, will automatically filter out non-peer-reviewed or non-scholarly literature. Now, I want to pause here to point something out. In some research assignments, your professor may allow you to use non-peer-reviewed, or what we call non-scholarly journal articles and journal resources. That's perfectly acceptable, and in some cases may be even required for your assignment if you are allowed to use non-scholarly articles. For example, when I was in doctoral school, I had a number of assignments that required me to use a certain number of scholarly or peer-reviewed journal article resources, and then also required me to use a certain number of professional resources, that is, those which are certainly relevant to the discipline or to the research topic at hand, but are not peer-reviewed in the sense that they are published in a refereed scholarly journal that's peer-reviewed by experts in the field. Both of those resources, in terms of the articles you can find, are helpful. Professional literature that's non-peer-reviewed can also be very relevant to research topics and can be very helpful, but you need to understand that it may not be sufficient if your professor is requiring you to use peer-reviewed literature. Anything that is peer-reviewed is essentially the top standard in terms of its authoritative nature with regard to scholarly research. Professional research or professional literature, for example, That which comes from, for example, the Journal of Accountancy, published by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, is a scholarly, or not a scholarly, excuse me, it's a professional resource, but it's not a scholarly resource in the sense it's peer-reviewed. It's certainly accurate, it's relevant, it provides great information, but it's not a peer-reviewed resource. Whereas the Accounting Horizons Journal, or the Journal of Issues in Accounting Education, or the Accounting Review, published by the American Accounting Association, are peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles that have been refereed by experts in the field. If you are searching for peer-reviewed journal articles, you want to be sure to check the peer-reviewed box and review those articles. Make sure that they are from refereed or peer-reviewed journals. If you're searching for professional literature that doesn't necessarily have to be peer-reviewed, then you will want to leave that box unchecked, and that will widen the search results that you will come across. So once you've entered your search terms, and here I've provided an example of activity-based costing for my cost accounting and managerial accounting students. That's a relevant research topic. But just as an example, we're going to search for a journal article, scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles concerning activity-based costing. Notice that once again I have checked the full text box and the peer-reviewed box. I've entered my search terms, my keywords, and then of course next we will go and we will click the green search box over to the right in order to bring up the search results. So here are our search results for the topic of activity-based costing, again filtering that by the full text and the peer-reviewed options. The first one you'll notice that comes up is fuzzy activity-based costing, a methodology for handling uncertainty in activity-based costing systems by Lockman and Needy, if I'm reading that correctly, from the Engineering Economist. This is a peer-reviewed journal and a peer-reviewed, thus, journal article that you can use if you're researching activity-based costing, depending upon the specific research area within the realm of activity-based costing that you're looking at. So this provides us with an example of a peer-reviewed journal article. Notice also that the full text of this article is available both to read in digital form on ProQuest's website and to download as a PDF. You'll notice down toward the bottom of this particular listing, number 1, you'll see full text PDF, and then in parentheses the PDF size, which for this article is 4 megabytes. Before we open this up, as we will here in just a second, I also want to call your attention to what you see over on the left-hand side of the page. Beneath the full text and peer-reviewed reference, if you scroll on down, you will notice other filters that you can apply. Notice that there is a source type area, and as an example, for this particular search, 3,299 of the search hits are from scholarly journals. There are also articles from magazines. That's likely to be professional literature. Again, publications such as the Journal of Accountancy and various other related professional publications. And then you'll have trade journals listed, conference papers and proceedings, and other resources that may come up as a hit as well. So you can filter your results by the type of literature that you're seeking. Another filter down below that is something that will be particularly important to you if your professor has required that you pull literature from a certain date range. For example, if your professor is requiring that you find current literature, most commonly faculty members will define current literature as either within the last 5 years or the last 10 years. It's up to each professor as to how they seek to define that, but if you're given a specific time frame, you can use that date reference in order to filter that down to the specific date range. For ProQuest's website, again in ABI Inform Global, you can do that by sliding... Sorry, I had a motorcycle go by my house. You can do that by sliding the relevant pins on the left and right side. You'll see little gray pin points. You can slide those to filter the articles by date, or you can click the link that says enter a date range, and you can enter those date ranges manually. That's up to you as to how you prefer that, but you can adjust it using either method to the particular date range. For my purposes here in illustrating the research process, I'm not concerned about a specific date range, so you'll notice that I don't have that filtered. I've left it at the default, which is to bring all hits within all date ranges relevant to the keywords in question. Down below that, you'll see additional filters, such as one popped up at the bottom that says publication title. If you're looking for articles from a specific journal, you can use that filter format to select the particular journals that are listed. Most commonly, the filters, however, that you're going to want to use are the peer-reviewed full text filters and then the relevant date ranges in question. But again, that's according to your own research needs and the particulars of the assignment. So to continue on with our investigation, we're once again going to click the link to the fuzzy activity-based costing article, and we're going to see what we have. So upon clicking that link, you will be provided with some important information. First, when this comes up, the first thing you'll see under the article title and the article authors, which you'll notice are hyperlinked if you want to search for research, other publications by that same author or other research performed by that same author, you simply click the author name, and any articles published by that author within the same database will be displayed. Here again, we're looking just at an example, so we're not going to bother with clicking the author name, but that's another resource available to you. The first thing I want to call your attention to is the abstract. The abstract is basically an executive summary of the given article in question. When you're trying to search through appropriate versus inappropriate articles for a research project, the abstract will be the single most useful tool to you because a well-written abstract will provide you with an overview of the article's topic, the major points of the article, and in most cases the major findings of the article, and some abstracts will even reflect some of the article research methodology. It's a great way to be able to survey quickly whether or not this article is likely worth your time to read, and thus whether or not you may want to search through it in more detail to include in your research project, or if this article, even if it came up based on keywords for the same heading, if this article really isn't relevant to what you're needing to research or what you're needing to find. So again, you'll want to review the abstract for the given article in question, and you'll want to research that further and see if that particular topic or the topics addressed by the article are relevant to your research efforts. If you determine that the article is relevant, the next step I recommend is either to review the full text, which you'll see listed below the abstract on the first tab. That's in digital form, so if you don't want to necessarily download the article at this point, you can simply read it on ProQuest's website by looking through the full text. Alternatively, if based on the abstract you're confident this article is not only going to be worth your time to review, but likely one you're going to want to keep for future reference, then I recommend you click the link at the top on the right in green that says Download PDF. I strongly recommend if you find an article relevant to your research topic that you want to utilize, that you download a copy of that to your computer. You don't necessarily have to print it off, and again, if you're printing articles every time you use them, some people really like the tangible feeling of an article that they can make notes on, that they can have outside of their computer for easy reference. I certainly recommend that if that's how you prefer to learn. But at a minimum, I recommend if it's a relevant article that you download it to your hard drive so that you can go back and reference that article. I have heard many stories about frustrated scholars and researchers, especially at the graduate level, who have found an article that was just exactly what they needed, and they didn't save the article for whatever reason. They referenced it for that particular session they were working on their project, and then when they went back later, they had great difficulty trying to find the article because they didn't go ahead and create their reference, or they didn't jot down enough information from the relevant article to be able to go back and find it. If you save the article as a PDF on your hard drive, you don't have that worry. You have it copied to your hard drive there for easy reference, and whether you lose internet, whether something goes haywire with the search system, whatever the case may be, you then have that article for easy reference to use in working on your paper. That's just a personal recommendation from an individual who has done graduate level research for a number of years in the course of earning my degrees and now serving as a faculty member, but I strongly recommend if it is an article you plan to use, download a copy of that article for reference. Now, if the article you come across, let's say, aligns with your topic but isn't exactly what you're looking for, a helpful resource can be found at the bottom right-hand side of the screen under the topic Related Items. I have a red arrow pointing to this that says check these out. You will notice a listing of other articles that are closely related to or aligned to this article, either because they're written by the same author or they're on the same topic and have similar keywords. Oftentimes, if this article that you're looking at isn't precisely what you're wanting, but it's similar to the topic that you're dealing with, you can find better or more appropriate articles by consulting the Related Items listing at the right. Alternatively, you can return to the search results, and you'll notice in the top left-hand corner under the ABI Inform Global label in the various menus, you'll see a hyperlink that says Back to Results next to the one of 3,368 hits. If you click that Back to Results link, that will take you back to the same listing we just looked at for this particular topic. If you click the back button, depending on the database in question, that may take you back to the same listing. In some databases, it will take you back to the general search area and you'll lose the listing that you just had. It depends upon your web browser, depends upon the particular database, but just to be on the safe side, I recommend if you want to go back to search results, simply click the Back to Results button. Again, as an alternative to that, you can also consult the related items listing on the right-hand side, and that'll provide you with some helpful resources as well. Now let's talk a little bit about dissertations. This is particularly relevant, again, to graduate level students who are looking for guidance or looking for resources in constructing a thesis, a major research paper, or especially if you're a PhD or DBA student, looking for some example dissertations that you can use as a guide to help you in the preparation of your dissertation. The University of the Cumberlands provides access for all of its students to the Dissertations and Theses Global database maintained by ProQuest, and as a matter of fact, a number of PhD graduates and DBA graduates from the university or EDD graduates, including myself, I earned my PhD in Business Administration with an accounting concentration from the University of the Cumberlands, have chosen to publish their dissertation through the ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global database. It's an excellent resource to be able to find dissertations and theses not only published through the University of the Cumberlands, but from institutions all across the world, given your research topic and given the research ideas you have. So to show you how to get access to that, first we start back at the university's homepage for the library. Again, the Hagen Memorial Library homepage, which is ucumberlands.edu/library. If you go back to that homepage, next to the Research Guides tab that we started with in looking for journal articles, you'll see a link that says Databases A to Z. That's the third tab under the Hagen Library's homepage. Click that tab and then you're going to see pop up a drop-down menu that says Select a Database. I have that labeled under then here number 2 arrow. We have first the Click Here 1 arrow pointing to the Databases tab, and then the second arrow which points to the Select a Database. Once you click that drop-down menu, it's going to come up with a listing of all of the databases that the university has provided access to for its students. You will notice that if you use this approach to find databases, there's almost an overwhelming listing of various research databases and research literature collections. That is a testament to the university's resources provided for you as a graduate student. There is for lack of a better term, a humongous array of resources provided for you. For our purposes in seeking out dissertations and theses published in master's degree and especially doctoral degree programs, we want to scroll down until we get to the D's and find the Dissertations and Theses link. Notice that's highlighted on the screen for you next to the Click Here arrow. Once you select that Dissertations and Theses link from the drop-down menu, you then want to click the Go button over to the right, and that will then take us to the ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global homepage. Here, notice that you have a search bar at the top, very similar to what we saw under the ABI Inform Global listing. It's very similar, but it's a different database. Instead of ABI Inform Global, this is the Dissertations and Theses database. Again, from this particular search bar, you can click in, or key in rather, your keywords, the key terms you're looking to filter your search results by. As an example, I'm going to search for dissertations and theses that deal with the topic of accounting ethics. So I have keyed in those keywords. Another thing you'll want to select is, again, the full text button. Notice I have an arrow pointing to that. The reason being, you don't just want to provide or to seek out dissertations and theses for which there is simply reference information. Your goal is to find the full text so that you can actually review those and use those in the research projects. Or again, if you're a doctoral student, you want to find the full text of the dissertation in question to be able to consult with. So if you click that arrow, that checkbox, that's going to filter that. And then notice there is another checkbox next to it labeled Doctoral Dissertations Only. If you want to filter out master's level theses and you simply want to seek out doctoral dissertations, you can check that. Now, for my purposes, again, in illustrating this, I have not selected that, but if you are only looking for doctoral dissertations, that's provided as an additional easy filter on the homepage for you. So we've typed in the keywords for this inquiry, which is accounting ethics. We've selected the full text filter. Now we're ready to click the magnifying glass in green over on the right-hand side to search for our search results. So upon clicking those search results, you're going to see a listing of all of those dissertations and theses in the ProQuest database that relate to the topic or the keywords of accounting ethics. Notice that there are 166,463 results as of today that deal with the topic of accounting ethics. Again, on the left-hand side, you have various filters that you can apply, either by date range or by institution or by author. There's several different ones there. Again, most commonly, the two that are going to apply if you're looking for dissertations and theses is the full text filter and then the date range, depending upon the particulars of the research project you're conducting. So notice there are a lot of options for this particular topic. I am actually looking for my very own dissertation, which I published on this topic, which is listed in this database. So to find that, what we would do is we would scroll down until we find the particular dissertation we're looking for. Alternatively, you can view the abstract/details for each of these dissertations if you're just looking for all the dissertations on the subject and reviewing to find one that's appropriate to your particular research desires. You can view the abstract and details to find the highlights and the main points of the dissertation and rather quickly evaluate whether or not that's going to likely be helpful to you. My own dissertation is listed here, number 17 on the search listing for accounting ethics, and it is entitled, as you can see, An Empirical Investigation of the Ethical Development of Accounting and Business Students, by yours truly, that is James Jacob Brock, published from the University of the Cumberlands in 2019. If we click this link, this will take us not only to the abstract and the details and various and sundry other information related to the dissertation in question, but once it comes up, it will also provide us with, because we've selected the full text filter, a full text of the dissertation in question. Notice that the full text, and in this case, the full text of my own dissertation, is provided in PDF. You can either preview that in PDF by clicking the right tab, or because you have a subscription through the university to this database, and we filtered it by full text results, you can simply begin with the full text tab in PDF on the left and either scroll through and read the dissertation and the abstract manually from the PDF document, or if you want to just look at the abstract quickly to evaluate whether or not the dissertation is relevant to your research interest, you can go over to the right and click the abstract/details link and just look at the abstract in web text form there. Either one is available to you. Notice again that you have the download button listed over to the right in green. If this is a dissertation you want to save for easy reference, you can download it as a PDF to your computer. You can also print that dissertation. It'll print in the same way that journal articles and other professional and peer-reviewed literature you have access to through the university's library resources will print. You can print it physically. But in general, for doctoral dissertations, I don't usually recommend you print it unless you're really looking to use that repeatedly as a reference or as a model for your own topic. The reason being is doctoral dissertations tend to be much longer than peer-reviewed articles. Commonly, doctoral dissertations, if they are quantitative, are at least 100 pages in length. If they are qualitative doctoral dissertations, they usually are a minimum of 120 pages in length. My own dissertation is, I believe, 160 some odd pages in length, and so that being the case, it's a substantial document that again will take a whole lot of paper and a whole lot of resources to print physically. If you want that for easy reference, then go ahead and print it physically. However, if you're just looking at it as a casual reference or just something to reference off and on, it may be more convenient and less expensive for you to download that as a PDF document to your hard drive. Again, upon reviewing the abstract, if you determine that that's an article you want to use, save it to your hard drive. If you determine it is not an article that you want to use, then you can either return to your search results, by clicking again in the top left-hand corner the Back to Results link, or, once again, because this is ProQuest format, you can look under the related items listing on the bottom right-hand side and find other similar dissertations and journal articles that you can consult with on this topic. Notice that a related item for my dissertation listed is an investigation of the relationships among volunteer income tax assistants, VITA, participation in ethical judgment, from the Journal of Business Ethics. That is not a doctoral dissertation or a master's thesis. Rather, it's a peer-reviewed article that has come up due to keywords or other references as a related item to my particular dissertation. So again, you can use that related items option or that related items listing to find other scholarly literature that's related to the particular item that you're consulting with. So that's a tutorial to journal article and peer-reviewed scholarly literature research using the University of the Cumberland's Hagen Memorial Library resources. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, concerns, or issues with the research process that I can help you with, please feel free to contact me at jake.brock, B-R-O-C-K, at ucumberlands.edu. Having said that, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day.